Super Smash Bros. Is incredible. The fact that it brings so many characters from so many different franchises makes it one of the greatest crossover events in video game history. The pure variety of Smash Ultimate 70+ fighters is staggering. It's always popular to debate which video game character is the strongest, especially if it's got a competitive scene. People love a good old-fashioned tier list. But you gotta admit, there's some weird Sakurai voodoo balancing magic in the Smash Bros. Universe. Some of these characters have changed quite a bit to fit into the game, while others seem noticeably stronger or weaker compared to the games that these characters are known for. It's a somewhat popular topic out there to try and discover which Smash Bros. Character would be the strongest if you took into consideration the canon abilities of each fighter in their own universe. But today, I want to discover the opposite. I don't want the salty Spatoona Smash, I want the Weenie Hut. This is gonna be a mess, a massive farce. It's completely subjective, but I want to get to the bottom of this. I'm gonna look at each character from their own main series video games. I'll take bonuses such as power-ups and temporary powers into consideration, but mostly I'm looking at how powerful each character is canonically on average. Also, since finding a definitive canon size for every character is impossible because of all the different universes they all live in, I'm just going to assume each fighter is scaled to the size that they appear in Super Smash Bros. Now, in order to find the weakest canonical Smash character, we need to eliminate every strong character possible. Let's get cutting. No gods allowed. If you can rebuild the universe, or you are literally divine, you gotta go. Also, no god slayers allowed. If you killed a god or blew up a planet or something, you're off the list. I don't care if you killed a sun god or you punched a god into the sun. You're gone. Everyone with extraordinary powers has also gotta go. If you have some kind of ability that would get you into this school, there's no way you're the weakest. Psychic abilities, no way. Growing to the size of a building, not gonna happen. Long periods of invincibility, probably gonna be an issue. And if you can knock the moon out of orbit, then yeah, you just don't belong on today's list. I think we can also squeak the Mario Bros in here. I don't know. They're silly buffoons on the outside, but most of the time they're like, here we go! And I think that's pretty extraordinary. I'm also gonna go ahead and cut everyone with moderate elemental powers too. Yoshi sometimes drops some hot bars. Piranha Plant is flames. Hadoukens seem like they're pretty spicy. And Olimar's Pikmin provide a variety of devastating effects. And you can't talk about elements without talking about Pokemon. All the Pokemon that are evolved definitely can't be considered the weakest. I'm also gonna assume Pokemon Trainer is fighting alongside each of the 3 Pokemon that they come with in Smash Bros, so they're a 3-for-1 special. And finally, everyone with advanced military experience has no place as the weakest. If you pilot a combat vehicle, if you have experience with firearms, if you're a soldier, you command an army, if you're a hunter, or if you constantly work with weapons technology, stand in line and march off my list. And finally, I don't really have a category for him, but I'm gonna cut Little Mack here. He's a tiny man, but he's still a champion boxer that has destroyed competition much larger than himself. Alright, yeah, that really cuts things down. Almost down to a bottom 10. But before we can quite get there, we need to take a second to check into the History Zone. This dimension holds some characters that have canon properties so strange, I cannot classify them amongst the other fighters. Maybe they're the weakest, maybe they're the strongest, but based on my rules, they cannot be placed anywhere at all because they connect to the real world. Duck Hunt might seem like 2 relatively harmless animals, especially in the European version of the game, which incorrectly calls the character Duck Hunt Duo. But watch the reveal trailer and you can clearly see that there is a 3rd member to this terrifying team. A real-world human being using the zapper to fire. Similarly, Rob is another plastic peripheral from our universe. Are these toys the weakest character because they're useless lumps of plastic? Or are they the strongest character because they're used to control the video game realm from the real world? I have no idea. They're not allowed on the list. But back in the real video game realm, we now finally have what I would consider to be 10 fighters left to compete for the absolute weakest Smash character. I'm starting my weakest 10 with the Ice Climbers. They have some of the absolute least material to work off of, mainly because they show up in Ice Climber and... nope, just Ice Climber. They jump and they swing a hammer, and that is all that they do. They can defend themselves and they appear athletic, but I feel like a lack of any additional power-up or super strength just puts them on a lower power level than the rest. For number 9, I'm lumping together the Mii fighters as one character. Here we have a set of characters based on over a decade-old avatars that started with the Wii. It is really hard to decide how strong or weak a Mii is canonically. In general, they are regular humanoid characters, with power levels that range everywhere from intense magic users and athletes to regular, ordinary people. I want to respect that the Miis do have potential to do amazing things in their main series games, but I also can't deny that on average, a Mii just chills like a basic civilian. That basicness keeps them on this list for sure. My number 8 is Mr. Game & Watch. Here's another variety character, with his Smash moveset based on a combination of things from characters and villains from the Game & Watch hardware. Most Game & Watch jobs are pretty mundane and don't require massive strength. Things like juggling, cooking, walking on turtles. These more pedestrian activities are sometimes balanced by tougher things like dude with a hammer, dude with 2 hammers, lion tamer, and giant octopus. I've got him lower than the Miis because I think his peak strength is a little lower, and just like them, he spends a lot of time as a regular person. And coming in number 7 brings us the Villager, another Avatar-style character, but this time the one from the Animal Crossing universe. You'll start noticing a theme here. The Villager is another character that seems to spend most of their time in a basic civilian lifestyle. Walking and talking, not a lot of fighting. The Villager does every once in a while show a sign of strength here or there, holding a heavy fish, breaking rocks with a shovel, chopping some trees down, firing a slingshot. There's offensive potential here, but the complete lack of combat experience and overall peaceful lifestyle has me dropping the Villager here into the weak zone. Oh, and would you look at that? Regular people, I guess, are just really weak in the Smash universe. My number 6 is Wii Fit Trainer. This hypothetical man or woman is a regular human being with great fitness and balance. They have essentially 0 weapons. Their base level of athleticism would be great for a fight against average humans, but unfortunately for Wii Fit, more than 3/4 of the Smash list is full of superpowered freaks. Being a little tough just ain't enough. Numbers 5 and 4 belong to our not goddess princesses, Daisy and Peach. Peach is yet another character with varying skill level. Very rarely, she will work as a part of the main Mario cast, which gives her access to all their power-ups and other skills. And there was that one time she had emotion powers, but most of the time, she's... doing that. I'm gonna take into consideration that Peach sometimes has real powers, stronger than characters over her on this list, but she's just shown herself to be defenseless way too many times compared to the rest of the roster for that to get a significant strength bump from me. Daisy, on the other hand, is kind of an enigma. In her debut and arguably only canon main series Mario appearance, she's a damsel in distress. She also had to be rescued by Mario in Super Mario Run, if that counts for anything. Otherwise, her only real defining characteristic is that she's described as a tomboy. She has a decently strong drive in the Mario Golf games, but good golfer just isn't gonna cut it. I don't see anything more from her than a slightly above average human that sometimes gets kidnapped. Everything you've seen at the bottom so far, I think somebody could argue is being somewhat strong, but everything here out and below, welcome to Super Weenie Hut Jr. Pichu is the weakest of the playable Pokemon featured in Smash. In-game, its combined stat total places it in the bottom 15 of all 800 plus Pokemon. Even some of the weaker Smash Bros. Pokemon like Squirtle and Jigglypuff have Pokedex entries that mention them having extraordinary strengths. But most of Pichu's Pokedex entries mention it being unskilled or not fully developed. And even though one Pokedex entry does mention that Pichu can zap adult humans, it also mentions that Pichu gets startled every time this happens. This thing is unprepared and afraid of using its only viable offensive weapon. It's a baby Pokemon. What'd you expect?
That's for babies.
Dr. Mario. I understand that Dr. Mario is one of hundreds of different versions of Mario, but as far as I'm concerned, when we're talking about Dr. Mario, we are evaluating Dr. Mario only as he appears in Dr. Mario games. And as far as I can tell, Dr. Mario is nothing more than a regular human that is also a doctor. He does fight against the common cold, but I have a hard time believing that this doctor has any distinguishing offensive abilities beyond being a slightly above average weight human being. And that leads us to our answer for the opening question. The weakest of the weak Smash Bros. Character based on their own universes. And that character, without a doubt, Isabell. No, not a bell, it is Isabell. Although her head does look like a sack of bells. Her head, Isabell. Anyways, Isabell is just a precious bean. In her games, Isabell is a helpful, harmless, and occasionally clumsy secretary. I tried digging to see if there was any real dirt. A single time Isabell ever attacked anything, and I was struggling. She theoretically has 19 engineering degrees, so I guess she's smart. And sometimes jock villagers can mention that she will go Isabellistic if someone breaks a window, but it's just left to the imagination what exactly that means. She maybe yelled loud, slightly menacingly, but in general, Isabell just isn't a fighter. She's a complete pacifist who is known to avoid confrontation and enjoys being helpful more than anything else. I will protect it, I want to see it grow up healthy, and I want to tell my friends about it, but I also strongly agree that Isabell is the weakest Smash Bros. Character. But thankfully for Isabell, and every Smash character we talked about today, Smash Bros. Is a whole other playing field. Maybe some of the weak characters will actually be decent again, and maybe some of the god tier characters will struggle. All I know is that it's incredibly exciting that everyone is here, and I can't wait to see everybody settling it in Smash. Thank you as always for watching my content. If you enjoyed this video, a huge thing that you can do to help me out is clicking this Isabell bell to get notifications for future videos that I make. I really appreciate the support. I'll see you guys soon with more Nintendo content.